Imagine, if you will, the height of the Cold War era. This was a time of tension, an era of fear and uncertainty. The two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were locked in a technological race, each vying for supremacy, not just on land, but in the skies as well. In the middle of this, a novel idea emerged: nuclear-powered aircraft. Yes, you heard it right. Planes powered by the same energy that fueled the most devastating weapons of that era. The idea was audacious, ambitious, and a little bit scary, to be honest. Well, what drove this ambition? Well, the motivation was twofold. First, there was the promise of unlimited range. A nuclear-powered aircraft could, theoretically, stay aloft for weeks, even months, without needing to refuel. You can imagine the strategic advantage this would provide, particularly at a time when intercontinental ballistic missiles were still in their infancy. Second, there was the prestige factor. The Cold War was as much about propaganda as it was about military might. The nation that could harness the power of the atom to fly would clearly demonstrate its scientific and technological prowess. That was a powerful image to project, both at home and abroad.
So, you see, the ambitions to develop a nuclear-powered aircraft during the Cold War weren't just about creating a new type of plane.
It was about demonstrating power, asserting dominance, and pushing the boundaries of what was scientifically possible. It was, in many ways, the embodiment of the Cold War mentality. Now, let's dive into the technical side of things. Developing a nuclear-powered aircraft wasn't just about strapping a reactor to a plane and hoping for the best. It was a daunting task, teeming with challenges and obstacles, some of which turned out to be insurmountable. Firstly, there was the issue of weight. Nuclear reactors are heavy, and aircraft need to be light. Balancing the need for a powerful enough reactor with the weight requirements of a functional aircraft was a significant challenge. Then, there was the problem of shielding. Nuclear reactors produce dangerous radiation, and protecting the crew, not to mention the electronics, was a major concern. Traditional shielding methods were simply too heavy to be practical for aircraft use. But this is where scientific breakthroughs come into play. Engineers and scientists had to think outside the box, and they did. They developed a concept known as distance shielding. This involved placing the reactor far away from the crew and sensitive electronics, using the aircraft's own structure to absorb the radiation. Another breakthrough was the development of air-cooled reactors. Unlike traditional water-cooled reactors, these could operate at high altitudes where the air is thin, making them suitable for aircraft use. However, even with these advances, the challenges were formidable. The technology was pushing the limits of what was possible at the time, and safety concerns were ever present. It was a monumental task, one that required not just technical expertise, but also a willingness to venture into the unknown. And as we'll find out, it was a task that ultimately proved to be beyond reach. Moving on from the technicalities, let's talk about the political implications and international reactions. As you can imagine, the idea of nuclear-powered aircraft flying around the globe didn't exactly sit well with everyone. The Cold War was a time of heightened tension and fear. The specter of nuclear war was always looming, and the thought of nuclear-powered planes added a new dimension to this fear. It wasn't just about the potential for accidents either. There were also fears about what these aircraft could be used for. After all, a plane that could stay aloft for weeks without refueling could also be used to carry nuclear weapons, and that was a frightening prospect. Internationally, the reaction was mixed. Some nations saw it as a sign of technological progress, while others saw it as a dangerous escalation in the nuclear arms race. The United Nations even held discussions on the subject, with many countries calling for a ban on nuclear-powered civilian aircraft due to safety and security concerns. Politically, the development of nuclear aircraft became a hot topic. In the United States, it was seen as a matter of national security, a way to maintain an edge over the Soviet Union. But it was also controversial, with critics raising concerns about the cost, safety, and practicality of the project. In the end, the political implications and international reactions played a significant role in the fate of nuclear-powered aircraft. It was a complex issue, one that was about more than just technology. It was about power, fear, and the future of the world itself. And as we'll see, these factors ultimately led to the project's downfall. All right, let's now take a closer look at the various models and designs proposed for nuclear aircraft. There were many ideas thrown around during this era, some of them quite outlandish, but all of them fascinating in their own way. The United States, for instance, had a program called the Aircraft Nuclear Propulsion Program, or ANP for short. This program gave birth to several prototype designs. One of the most notable was the Convair X-6, a proposed test aircraft based on the B-36 Peacemaker. The X-6 was designed to test various methods of nuclear propulsion, including the use of a direct cycle system, where air would be directly heated by the reactor. However, the X-6 never got past the planning stage. On the other side of the Iron Curtain, the Soviet Union was working on its own nuclear aircraft program. They developed a prototype called the Tupolev Tu-95 LAL, which was a modified version of the Tu-95 Bomber. It was equipped with a small reactor for testing purposes, but it never achieved nuclear-powered flight. These designs, while ambitious, were ultimately deemed impractical or unsafe for a variety of reasons. Nuclear propulsion systems were complex and heavy, reducing the aircraft's performance. Plus, the problem of radiation shielding was never fully solved, posing a major risk to the crew and the aircraft's electronics. Moreover, the risk of a nuclear accident was a constant concern. A crash could potentially spread radioactive material over a large area, a risk that was deemed unacceptable. So in the end, despite the grand visions and ambitious designs, the reality of nuclear-powered flight proved to be a bridge too far. The challenges were too great, the risks too high, and the benefits, while appealing, were overshadowed by the potential downsides. Now, let's delve into the final chapter of this atomic age tale, the abandonment of a nuclear-powered aircraft project and its impact on the aviation industry. By the early 1960s, both the United States and the Soviet Union had spent billions on their nuclear aircraft programs, with little to show for it. So what happened? But a few factors led to the project's downfall. First, there were the technical challenges we've already discussed. Despite significant scientific breakthroughs, the sheer complexity and risk associated with nuclear-powered flight made it an uphill battle. Then, there was the cost. These projects were incredibly expensive, and as time went on, it became increasingly difficult to justify the expenditure, especially when compared to other military and space programs that were yielding more tangible results. Furthermore, the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, changed the game. ICBMs could deliver a nuclear payload much more efficiently and with less risk than a nuclear-powered bomber. This made the whole idea of nuclear-powered flight somewhat redundant. Finally, there were the public and international concerns about safety and the potential for nuclear proliferation. The idea of nuclear-powered aircraft became less and less popular, both domestically and internationally. So, the project was eventually abandoned. But what impact did it have on the aviation industry?
While the dream of nuclear-powered aircraft never took off, the research and development did contribute to advancements in other areas.
The high-temperature materials developed for nuclear aircraft, for example, found use in conventional jet engines. The work on radiation shielding also had applications in other areas of nuclear technology. In the end, while nuclear-powered flight remains a fascinating chapter in aviation history, it's also a sobering reminder of the limits of technology and the challenges of turning ambitious ideas into practical realities. But as with all scientific endeavors, even the failures teach us something. And the lessons learned continue to influence the aviation industry to this day.